Sacramento. Tonight we have a two-parter. In the first half, we're going to be talking with Dr. Michelle Stevens and some students from CSUS about a climate change conference coming up. In the second half, we'll be talking to Ray Tatter of California Stage about a play he's got coming up. We are sponsored by Pieces Pizza on Capitol and 21st, and they have some great pizza they share with us here and with the crew, and we really appreciate that, and we hope you'll stop by and check them out. And we are also sponsored by the Humor Times, which is a political humor monthly that is available all over the world and is having its 21st anniversary celebration coming up in April 13th. So go to the website humortimes.com for more info. So today I welcome CSUS Professor Dr. Michael Stevens, who has organized a conference entitled Water and Fire, Impacts of Climate Change, which will take place April 10 to 11, 2016 at the California State University at Sacramento, CSUS. The conference is focused on linking scientifically credible information to the formulation and implementation of sound, effective domestic and international policy. The event is open to the public. More info can be found by Googling Water and Fire, Impacts of Climate Change, CSUS, and you may inquire about an invitation by emailing Dr. Stevens at STEV as in Victor, ENS, M as in Mary, at csus.edu. And they'll put that info up on the slide, on the screen there for you. So, welcome, Dr. Stevens.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming today. So, did you organize this conference?
I am. I'm the coordinator. We're working with Sac State and an Institute for Science and Global Policy. So maybe you've seen a lot of climate change conferences. I've been to several of them. This is not a talking head conference. It's a process. So the people, like, it would be wonderful if you came, interact with the presenters to try to develop policy in a 2-day time frame. So we have John Keeley on fire, and these mega fires in California, I'm learning, are a lot worse than I had thought of, and then a lot of people are aware of the Rim fire. And then Roger Bales on water, and everyone's aware of the drought or potential for flooding. We've gotten both this year. And Tina Swanson's talking about fish and the loss of our salmon and steelhead. One neat thing about the conference is we have Frank Lake talking about tribal traditional knowledge and traditional fire management. And then we have the chief of Ken Pimlott, chief of CAL FIRE, talking in a little short of a movie by Stephen Most on these mega fires, which are unlike anything we've ever seen before in California.
Exacerbated by climate change, no doubt, we think.
Exacerbated by the warmer temperatures, especially at night, so you can't put them out, so they just keep burning,
Right.
But a special thing I'd like to introduce you, this is Zach Frese. He's one of the students at Sac State who is an intern, so they helped actually interview people to be the presenters, and both he and Anna Metzger are both going to be debaters at the conference. So I thought I'd let them talk a little bit about their participation.
Yeah, so far it's already been a really enriching and interesting experience being an intern in last semester with ISGP, the Institute on Science for Global Policy, and we had the opportunity to go to one of the conferences that they put on in Florida that was on sea level rise. And as much as I had been told about what to expect, it really didn't all become real until we were really there. And it really is, like Dr. Stevens was saying, it's not just a talking heads conference, it's really a process that ISGP has put together, and there's talks from the debaters that have prepared kind of white paper, real short essays with some detailed policy recommendations, and they defend their position in a roundtable discussion with people that are stakeholders from the community and experts in their field and people that are in politics and different elected offices and all those things, and have a really spirited discussion about it. And then it goes into on the second day smaller caucus groups with members of the local community and different people that are, want to be involved in that discussion, and ultimately results in a publication that can hopefully inform policymakers to making better decisions. And it's really been an incredible experience, and I'm excited to see what comes out of the conference we're having here in April.
So you did a similar thing at this in Florida, similar event.
Mm-hmm.
On sea level rise. This one was on sea level rise, and in Florida, it's illegal to talk about climate change in the legislature or for education, and yet people are losing their homes from sea level rise.
Well,
So-
Marco Rubio says it's no problem, so
Yeah.
we shouldn't worry about it.
I think all those candidates say that.
Yes.
We were
And,
going over those quotes from the Republican candidates on climate change in class today.
Just for a good laugh.
Yes.
And then the other student you have here?
Yes, Annalise.
is- Tell me your name again?
Anna.
Anna, okay.
Yes, I only came into this a few months ago. I was not an intern last semester, but just in the short time frame that I have been here, we've been helping to make the Water and Fire conference as amazing as possible. And it's been an absolutely amazing experience to get to see Sacramento State and ISGP work together. As an undergraduate, it's not very easy to be able to find yourself in a place like this, in a conference where you can actually talk to legislature and people who are making these policy changes. So it's amazing to be able to have the opportunity to talk to these people face to face and get to know how policy changes actually happen and how you can make legislation to make the world a better place.
Right. So tell me more about the debate formats. So you're like debating, are there like
It's really interesting.
anti-climate change?
Well, what happens is
people there, or
these
is it just-
speakers, they only speak for 5 minutes, and then for an hour and 15 minutes, there's a circle of 40, and then 200 people in the audience. They all get to ask questions. There's a moderator. And we chose Water and Fire to take a watershed view because have you heard of a conference on water and fire? It's usually like they're separate, but for us, they're not separate. When you think of all the fires, the Rim Fire, Lake Berryessa, so they just speak for 5 minutes, and then there's a heated question and answer, including among the debaters, and we have industry, policymakers, scientists, as representative of a group as we can, because that's the only way to have a meaningful dialogue.
Sure.
The one thing that's not on the table is whether or not climate change is happening, because it doesn't matter if people think it isn't happening. They have to agree there's fires, there's floods, there's loss of fish.
Right.
It's happening.
So what are we going to do about it?
And then the next day, the caucuses, we break into small groups and we actually just delve down in to try to develop policy together. So, for example, in Florida, they had adaptation zones to identify areas for people where they shouldn't buy homes because they're not going to be able to keep them. So we don't know what'll come out of it. It's actually pretty exciting.
Yeah, that sounds like a really unique way to go about it. I mean, like you say, usually at these conferences there'll be talking heads and all the experts will talk and say what we need. But here you're actually working it out amongst yourselves. And I would imagine that would really bring in the audience into the process and be more invested and learn a lot more, probably.
Well, the Institute for Science and Global Policy and George Atkinson in particular have this moderator approach, command the room approach that you can't describe, but it just engenders conversation in a good way, not debate like Donald Trump, but a dialogue among the people. They might disagree, but they still can talk it through.
And it's really cool to see in those breakout caucus sessions. I was able to be a scribe at one of those, in one of those small groups, and you hear all kinds of differing opinions and people that have different ideas about how things can be handled and what should actually be done. 'Cause the idea is to come out of it with actual actionable items that can, are things that we can take action on, and just listen for kind of the common themes and the things, there might be areas where people obviously disagree, but the idea is just to come out of it with what those areas of consensus are. And it's really cool to see how, someone who might not have known anything necessarily about the topic coming into it to somebody that's, a leading scientist in the field, and they're all in the same room, and everyone can, at the end of the day, come out with the things that they actually agree on, and it's cool to see that final product come out of it.
And we
So
do hope
we'll-
I'm sorry.
go ahead.
We hope to have a launching event and actually create policy. We're working with Kate Meese and James Goldstein and Larry Green and people who know a lot about AB 32, and we're trying to have what we're doing relevant. We're trying to get their guidance and ultimately have a release party with legislators and try to become a hub, a climate hub at Sac State for our region, and have more of these conferences on other topics.
Great. So now, will you two be taking a certain position on your debate, like representing a certain position, or is it more like?
Not necessarily, but we hope to ask the questions that will kind of facilitate a good conversation amongst the group, and ask the clarifying questions to the speakers that have prepared their policy position papers, and try to really dig deeper and try to get some more detail into what can really be done to help mitigate the issues that we're facing.
The students are really well prepared. They're going to
Yes.
ask good questions. They're going for the,
Yeah.
their laser.
As environmental studies students, we've been studying this for years. I've been studying it for 5, 6, 7, 8 years, and Zach just the same amount of time.
Yeah.
So we're very well versed in a lot of the science that is behind this. So we're very pleased to be able to actually ask questions that could make a difference in state and potentially federal legislation.
Yeah, that was my next question. Is I assumed you're studying the subject, environmental science, and so several years already.
Yes.
I've been studying it, and so yeah, I imagine that you will bring a lot of knowledge to the task and have smart questions to ask.
I certainly hope.
For anybody in your audience who's gone to the climate advocacy groups in our community, you all know that they're all pretty much retired people, so it's nice to have some juice and some youth, because we're going to be long gone, and this is
Yeah.
going to be their problem,
This is gonna
and
be a
they really
problem
need to be part of the
For a while,
solution.
isn't it? So we only have a minute left. How do people get to this conference, or do they have to register?
www.waterandfire2016.com. www.waterandfire2016.com.
That's easy. I told them to Google it earlier, and because I thought it was a really long, the one I found was a really long URL, so, but that's easy. So that's a general
That goes to our
global thing, and then it
website, and
comes
then they
back.
can
Okay.
register, and it tells them all about it.
Well, thank you very much for coming.
Thanks
and
for
telling
having
about
us.
this, and I hope you get a great turnout.
I hope so too. It's our goal.
Sounds exciting.
Thank you.
All right. So now. Okay, welcome. We're back now, and we got a couple of new guests here, Ray Tatar and James Anderson of California Stage Theater Company. And they will honor Dublin's fallen and celebrate its fighting spirit with Easter Rising, Dublin 1916, excuse me, coming up here soon at California Stage. So I'll say a little bit about it. This moving reader theater piece commemorates the 1916 Dublin uprising that sparked a revolution. 4 performances will be given, March 18th to 20th. Easter Rising, Dublin 1916 takes audiences into the rough and tumble streets of Dublin during the infamous insurrection, told from the diverse perspectives of people who lived it, unsuspecting bystanders, a priest dragged by duty into the fray, and young revolutionaries fighting for their freedom. This evocative piece captures the hope, the fear, and the rage of a people swept up in revolt. So welcome Ray Tatar and James Anderson.
That's
Thanks
great.
for coming.
Yeah. James is a director and an actor. He's an actor in this show, and he's also been a professor for a number of years teaching in college. And I like working with James because he can do dialects.
Nice.
This is an Irish dialect play, you know. I mean, it's set in Dublin, and it's one of the plays. This year is we knew that this year would be kind of wildly political and crazy. So we chose to do a number of political plays, 2 plays about revolution, one an original piece called The Revolutionary Mind, and it's about 60s people like me, Jim, and how they we either became true to our activist nature and took a greater part in shaping America, or didn't. And then this play here, which is truly about a revolution that finally had to happen, the Irish Revolution, because in Ireland, Ireland had been a quote-unquote province of Great Britain for a couple, 3 centuries. But there was a revolution in 1790s, there was a revolution quashed. There was a revolution in the 1850s, quashed by the armies. Oh, way back to Elizabeth, who sent Essex in there. Got his butt whipped, but she sent troops back, and they wreaked havoc. And then there was another revolution in the 1890s. And so when Britain was at war and on its knees fighting in World War I, they said, this is our time. We need to get them while they're down. And while they're fighting to free small country like Serbia, and let it have freedom from being part of the Austro-Hungarian Empire, we can slip away from being part of the Britannic Empire.
Right.
Well, what happened in Dublin was an amazing thing.
Now, you actually wrote this play,
Yes,
right?
I adapted it actually from first-hand experiences of people on the street, like that priest, and
Where did you find these?
they're published in various books. There's one book especially which was published 50 years ago for the 50th anniversary. And there were many people still alive at that time, and somebody got the brilliant ideas. I think I'll run around and tape people or collect information from interviews. And that was the basis for me doing this adaptation.
Great.
And then it became a way of opening it up into dramatic situations. And that's one of the things that we're doing.
Excellent. And now James directs it?
No, I'm just acting in this.
Oh, you're acting in it. Okay.
He directs.
You're directing it as well.
Yeah,
Okay.
sure, if you write it, you direct.
All right, so tell us about your part.
Okay, so the part that I'm going to do today, I do 2 parts, three now in the show.
Oh, okay.
The part that I'm going to do today is one of those innocent bystanders. It's an interesting play because all of the innocent bystanders, men and women, as it would be if you were caught up in the Watts riots, for example, you have ambivalent positions, both activated by it and at the same time confused by it. And so I think that's descriptive of the characters, because they float back and forth between things, and it's descriptive of this character, but he talks about a particular moment in the rising, or when they take the post office, because he was there, and so he's an important mouthpiece for that little historical tidbit at the same time that he's got an interesting character.
Yeah.
So you're actually going to
Yeah.
kind of perform a couple lines from
Sure,
the
why don't I do
play?
that?
Yeah, let's do that. We don't have a whole lot of
You need
time.
a word if I stood, by the way?
I think so. No, they're saying
Not
sit.
sit.
Okay.
No, don't stand. Well, then I will do it sitting. Do not stand. Okay. This is
Probably rip the mic off or something.
Reader's Theater. Yes?
That's right, that's what
Reader's
this is,
Theater.
Reader's Theater.
Reader's Theater.
So you'll
Okay.
forgive me if I look to my script here.
Please do.
Okay.
This is Mr. Cronin.
Yes, page 5. And so, taking a tram, I got to the post office, where there was a small crowd gathered outside. On the steps were 3 Sinn Féiners, armed with rifles. I thought I would get in and have a look around. The 3 fellas did not stop me, and I got through the swing doors. But a fella inside pulled me up. "Who are you?" he asked. And I tried to look innocent and said that I'd come to buy some stamps. But he shoved me out the door and said, "Get out of here." Gave me a push, and right out with the front of a revolver. That man was very like Conley, but I won't swear to it. By the time I got out again, why, the windows were being smashed with the butt end of rifles, and the men outside were giving out handbills. Others were crying slogans, Ireland free from the Santa to the sea, up the Republic. But I thought it was wiser not to put any seditious handbills in my pocket.
Bravo!
Nice, very nice.
Yeah, and you know that wiser line, seditious handbills. It just shows that the middle class, a middle class man in Ireland had something, and you know people who have something, they don't want to lose it in a revolution, been taken away from them, you know. And we're talking about the 1% in here, and all the people that are throwing money at certain people who are running for office, you know. It's because they don't want to lose what they have, and they want their ideas carried forward. And this is what happened in Ireland.
And it's interesting because I get to play three characters. One of them is this guy who's middle class. The other one is a working class guy, and he's much more caught up in it emotionally. He doesn't have any distance at all. Mm-hmm. And the third one is Connolly, the guy that was mentioned in this speech, who's a leader of a very significant leader of the revolution. And this is his a speech after he's been captured and he knows he's going to be executed. You should say who Connolly is.
Oh, well, Connolly was actually the leader of the volunteers. The way the Irish had organized were a number of ways politically, you know. There was the Red Wing, or the communist, socialist wing, and then there was, you know, let's just get a republic and be democratic like the Americans are, and we'll just do that kind of revolution, and everything in between. So you had the Hibernian Rifles, you had the Cunumat Ban, which were the women's army, actually had a women's army, and they all finally got together, and Connolly put them all together and said, now's our time to revolt. Now's our time. And then, of course, the British, who were at war, came in with something that they hadn't had before, which is machine gun. They had these small guns, the Hauff guns, which were precursors of the howitzers, you know, light and could move and blow a building apart in 10 minutes, which they did.
Now, the play features live music, correct?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So would you call it a musical, or is it more
No.
just a play
The musicians make transition, and
Okay.
it's very, very dramatic underpinning of the dialogue. Sometimes there's a drum called a bólrón. It's in Gaelic, and it's a hand drum. It's about this big, and it's a precursor of the tambourine, except it doesn't have the bells, but it has a little stick with ball at the end of it, and you do like this, and you can make a real military sound to it.
Well, we have just less than a minute left. So this, time flies. So this is happening just in 4 days from now is the first.
That's right. It's happening right after the day
18th.
after Friday, this Friday, which is.
And we have actually the slide up showing
there
where
it
they
is.
can get information.
Yep, this Friday is the first performance, and then Saturday afternoon, Saturday evening.
They can get tickets online.
8 p.m., 2 p.m., and 8 p.m. on Saturday night, and 2 p.m. on Sunday.
And they can go there and get tickets online there, right online, and show up. And they can also buy tickets at the show, probably, right?
That's right, absolutely. They can pick up a Humor Times somewhere.
Can they?
Yeah,
Well,
and there's
good.
all the information on the back of that. They can't get a
Excellent.
ticket there, though.
All right. Well, this sounds like a great play and a great series of plays you have coming up this summer. So we're really looking forward to it. I encourage everyone to go to California Stage. It's a great experience.
Thanks, James.
Thanks for coming.
Well, it's our pleasure. We'll come back any old time.
I bet you'll be here in a couple days.
It's a crisis situation.